Alright, so we are back for another Dokkan battle video, and in today's video we are going to be talking about the Awakening for the Golden Metal Cooler, and then the Dark JANEMBA, or I guess JANEMBA Modified. You can see down here, their Awakenings did get confirmed during the, I guess, like, Heroes announcement tweet or whatever, where they announced all of the summonable units, or a couple of the summonable units, and then the free-to-play Toa, and then the Awakenings for these guys. Definitely really exciting. I think both of them have potential to be really, really good as well. I mean, there's a couple things they have to do, and a couple things they gotta like loosen up a little, because unfortunately this guy is a little restricted to crossover, which is the one thing that we really don't want with these units. But I definitely think he's still going to be good with his Awakening. I think both of them are, because both of them have a very good foundation for an EZA. And like I said, as long as they just loosen the restrictions a little for the teams that they have to be on, I think they could easily be some of the best like Dragon Ball Heroes units we have in the game, which is a really good thing because both of them are on some crazy weak teams. Look at JANEMBA. We got, crossover Dragon Ball Heroes, obviously, not that great. And then Corroded Body, Mind, and Accelerated Battle. Corroded Body and Mind is one of the worst categories in the game. I mean, yeah, is there even really a team to run here? I guess you got some JANEMBAs. Physical JANEMBA can be pretty good. Yeah, this guy sucks, I'm not going to lie to you. Who else do we got? Baby, he's really good with his EZA. This guy's good with his EZA. This guy is starting to fall off, but I guess he's still pretty useful. And then that's about it, if I'm being honest. I mean, no one else is really standing out to me on this category. So a unit like this, definitely very beneficial, especially if he's really good, not only on the crossover team, but then also they make him useful on some of these other weaker teams. He's not on that many teams, though. This is kind of a bad example. But then this guy, a lot more teams. Got Resurrected Warrior, Full Power, Wicked Bloodline, Artificial Life Forms, also Corroded Body and Mind, Transformation Boost. I mean, a lot of these categories really need the help. So definitely two, Awakenings like this could be really beneficial for the game, as long as they're not crazy restricted to the Dragon Ball Heroes category. I mean, this is something you probably heard a lot of people talking about, but all of the Dragon Ball Heroes units, all the new units we get that are summonable, the free-to-play units, the Awakenings, the EZAs, all of them. If any of them are restricted to the crossover or Dragon Ball Heroes team, you are going to get basically no use for them whatsoever. You're going to run the Dragon Ball Heroes team once if you pull, like the best lead for the category or whatever, or you're going to do your one mission in the Dragon Ball Heroes Red Zone stage, and then you're never using this team again. So, of course, we don't really like it when units are restricted to that category, because not only is the category not that great because it doesn't get a lot of LRs, and we don't get a lot of releases for it, because, of course, we only get updates once a year for this celebration, but then most of the units we get are kind of restricted. But this year, I got a good feeling they're going to switch that up, and these two units getting great Awakenings, I've already established, could be very good for the game, and I think is very likely because both of them have really good like skeletons for their Awakening. So this cooler right here gets 30% attack and defense on super. Obviously really good. If they want to, maybe bump that to like 50%, I think that could be really good because the 50% defense on super is probably one of the most beneficial things to have on your super attack effect in the game right now, only behind, I guess, massively raising defense. So if they want to make them have the 50% attack and defense, or 30% attack and then 50% defense for one turn, because again, all we really care about is that defense, I'm definitely down for that. And then his passive right now is that he gets 150% the stats. I could realistically see this going to like 180%. He launches an additional that has a high chance becoming a super when performing a super attack. A high chance is pretty good already. I don't know if they're going to want to make that a great chance, because it is already an additional that has a high chance becoming a super. It's not just a high chance of launching an additional super. So what I realistically see happening is they just keep it as a 50% chance of launching an additional super, or no, an additional that has a 50% chance of becoming a super. But I mean, I don't know, maybe they'd want to make it like a 70% chance. Dokkan isn't too nice, so let's not get our expectations crazy high. They can't make every unit good now, but I think it's definitely possible maybe they want to make it a great chance just to give them that little bit extra power, right? And then also this guy does reduce damage received by 20%. Just for free. Now that is really good, 20% damage reduction just off the bat. It's a good little nifty amount. It's not that crazy by itself, but then once you take into consideration, he does build up an additional 30% damage reduction. Obviously, that means now we're looking at 50%. 50% damage reduction is really good. That's in the range where you need like, I don't know, like 400 to like 800 KH defense with also 50% damage reduction to then tank most of the game. So with this guy's Awakening, if they do a lot for his stats and then bump up the damage reduction just a hair, so by that I mean maybe make this like 30% and then make this condition a little bit like easier to get. They don't even need to bump this number up, honestly, just make it easier to get. So then you can get up to 60% damage reduction, and obviously that's on top of this guy's already higher stats from him getting the Awakening and then the actual stat buffs as well. So I could see this guy being really impressive. The only issue I really see is this right here. I mean, this is the biggest issue with him already as it is. So this guy gets 30% attack up to 150% and an additional 6% damage reduction up to 30% per crossover category ally on the team. That's what we don't like. That's what I was talking about earlier. We don't like it when these units are restricted to crossover. And unfortunately, this guy absolutely is. But I think a really good fix for that is maybe just give this guy an additional 150% attack and defense and then 30% damage reduction if there's a crossover category ally on the team or on the rotation. So then you still have to have one crossover category unit. So, you know, this isn't completely like replaced or gone or anything like that. But it makes it a lot easier to get. So you could still run him on Wicked Bloodline, but you'd have to run another crossover unit or something like that. Because, like I said earlier, or I don't know if I said it earlier, but like these EZA units, or the Awakening units, I guess it really doesn't matter. They like to keep the same kind of theme. So I don't see them completely removing this restriction. I think it's absolutely going to stay because they like to keep the same format. Just make them, you know, a little bit better as they get their Awakening or their EZA. But maybe in this case, they can make the restriction a lot easier to get because of all the backlash they've received from making a lot of units restricted to crossover and Dragon Ball Heroes. Because at the end of the day, nobody wants that. So then this guy being basically totally restricted to this category sucks because 20% damage reduction by itself is nothing. Even if it gets bumped up to 30%, even if this guy's at like 300k defense start of turn, I mean, that's cool because then, you know, he gets defense on super and he's got some additionals built in. But that's still not that crazy, especially for how bad his teams are. We need some actual good tanking units. So then if this guy could easily get that extra damage reduction, I think that definitely could be good. Or, you know, they could just add another category here. So maybe it could be 30% attack. Well, obviously I want some defense here as well, just because, you know, more defense is nice. So we'll say 30% attack and defense up to 150%, 6% damage reduction up to 30% per crossover. I don't know, like Dragon Ball Heroes, Corroded Body and Mind, and then Artificial Life Form units on the team or something like that. Maybe add some more categories on there so it gives them more variety. So then it's not just crossover. I think those would be really good fixes for him. But anything like that, just to make this extra damage reduction and then attack a little bit easier to get would definitely be good. And then also, he has this thing down here. He seals if, you know, HP is 30% or less. I don't care about that. I really don't. They could do whatever they want with that. They could get rid of it. Honestly, get rid of this and then, you know, make this easier to get, and then I'm chilling. That's really all I care about because this does absolutely nothing for the game. I don't think you're ever going to get that even activated. But that's pretty much it with the cooler. Got a solid link set. They just need to loosen up his restriction a little, and then I think this guy's golden. Literally. So then moving on to the JANEMBA modified, Dark JANEMBA, Evo JANEMBA, whatever you want to call him. So this guy does get 30% attack and defense on super for 3 turns. I could easily see this going up to 50% attack and defense for 3 turns or 30% attack and defense for 6 turns. I think either or would be really good because, as you can see, this guy is a guarding unit, so his stats are really important. I mean, a unit that has 100k defense with guard isn't really tanking anything outside of maybe like some normals. But if a unit has like 300, 400, 500k defense with guard, they're pretty much tanking everything. I'm not saying they're tanking double digits, but they're tanking it. They're surviving. So definitely getting either 50% for 3 turns or 30% for 6 turns would be really good. And because of this, I do recommend going at least a little bit of additionals with him because he's already tech, so he's got the base 5 crit. So then I'd say additionals and dodge is probably the best way you could have him built. But anyway, starting off with his passive, he's got a high chance to guard for 5 turns from start of turn. He gets guaranteed guard when there's 2 or more enemies. So this right here, yeah, you see this? We don't care about this. This does nothing. When are you facing 2 or more enemies? There's like 2 events I can think of. I don't even know why they'd add that. Like, this is not a super battle road unit either. So that was really random. But this, we don't like this. On top of, we don't like this as well. But this mainly sucks because this is what we're relying on in most events. We don't want a high chance to guard. We want, I mean, at least a 70% chance to guard, but even that is still not really that reliable because at least me, if it's a chance to guard, I never get the damn guard. So I would just rather it be guaranteed guard for the first 5 turns from start of battle. That would be amazing. In a perfect world, that's what I want them to do because then in short content, so I guess stuff like Super Battle Road, this guy could be really useful. I mean, he's already somewhat good in Super Battle Road because of this right here, but he's on 4 damn categories. So are you really running JANEMBA modified in Corroded Body and Mind Super Battle Road or Accelerated Battle? I mean, maybe Corroded Body and Mind because this guy is one of the best units on there, which is saying a lot. You know, this category sucks ass. But, like, no, Accelerated Battle, you're not running him, and there's not a Super Battle Road stage for these 2 categories right here. So it does virtually nothing for him if he's good for Super Battle Road. So I don't know. I'm just saying this guard is really important, so this needs to be guaranteed. And then also he gets 30% attack and defense per crossover category ally on the team, up to 150%. An easy fix for that is, like I said, with the golden cooler, just make it a crossover category ally or corroded body and mind or accelerated battle or something like that, because then it makes him a little bit easier to build in terms of a team. You can put him on corroded body and mind, you can put him on accelerated battle, you could also put him on crossover, you could also put him on Dragon Ball Heroes, because most units on Dragon Ball Heroes are on crossover. I think every unit is, so it makes him a little bit more like open in terms of running him on teams. So I definitely think that that would be an easy fix, but they need to do something with this, because this is, yeah, not great. He needs these stats. Like I said, he's a guard unit, so he needs as many stats as possible. So then when you're restricting all those stats to a crossover team, obviously that sucks. And then this guy gets 50% attack with each super performed, up to 150%, an additional 30% defense with every attack received, up to 90%. And then he gets a high chance of performing a critical hit from the character's next attacking turn after the character receives a 5th attack in battle. All right, very simple. I would say keep this the same. I mean, you could make this a little bit higher if you want, but I really don't care. This isn't really a damaging unit. He could probably do some solid damage, but I think the guard solidifies his role as a, I guess, defensive unit, right? I mean, he's going to be tanking most of the time. So if you keep this the same, 50% attack with every super performed, up to 150%, and then bump this up to 150% with the defense, so then he gets 30% defense with every attack received, up to 150%. Or if they really want to make it convenient and simple, make it 50% defense with every attack received, up to 150%. So very easy to like remember. You do your 3 supers, you're fully built up with your attack, you take 3 attacks, bam, you're fully built up with your defense. But I don't know, Dokkan likes to be complicated. They're probably just going to make this 150% and then call it a day. But then this thing he gets at the end, the high chance to crit after you receive 5 attacks. I mean, that's kind of good. I guess that solidifies he can do some solid damage. And that also shows don't give him crit, because he's already got the base 5 crit, and then he's got crits built in. So definitely additionals and dodge. But if they want to make this maybe a 70% chance to crit, that'd be nice. If they want to make it a high chance of performing a crit, and then also launches an additional that has a high chance of becoming a super, that would be really good, because then that has the potential to make him do 3 supers. And then if he's doing 3 supers, and then he's getting the 30% attack and defense for maybe 6 turns, or maybe they bump this up to 50% attack and defense for 3 turns, this guy's going to be getting so much stats for multiple turns. So then he could look really impressive with that huge defensive number, and then also guard. So I definitely think both of these guys could be really good between the guard with this guy and the damage reduction with this guy. But long story short, they just got to loosen up the conditions a little, because it is really dragging these guys down. But anyway, let me know in the comments how you guys are feeling about both of these units, and let me know which one you're more excited to see get their awakening. Me personally, I'm looking forward to the golden metal cooler just a little bit more, because he's on more teams, and I'll probably end up getting more use for him, because his damage reduction, I mean, it's nice. If you run him type advantage, even if they make him still heavily restricted after his EZA, I think he'll still be pretty useful as long as they make this a little bit higher, and then make his stats a little bit higher, because in an event where he has type advantage, I think this guy could still be pretty useful. So anyway, that has been the video. I hope you guys enjoyed, and I'll catch y'all in the next one.